Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us for TigerHawk Talk today with Iowa Wrestling. Going to feature our coach, a few of our student athletes, and a brief update on the Carver Circle Facility Campaign. Many of you know me. I'm Kevin Collins. I have the pleasure to serve as the Associate VP for Athletics Development, and I'm going to be your moderator today. Before we get too far into the program, just a couple housekeeping items here. Just please, we'll ask you to mute your microphones for right now. That just helps with any kickback or background noise. So the microphone mute's going to be somewhere on your computer screen, so please mute that. But I ask you to keep your video on. We always enjoy seeing all of you at wrestling meets or fan events. So if you want to display your video, please do. It'd be great to see your face. And then we are going to have a chat feature, so feel free to utilize the chat feature on your screen. It's going to be at the top of your screen if you're on a desktop version. And for mobile versions, most likely going to be the chat feature under the participants at the bottom of the list on your screen. And finally, we are going to record this today. We may use some of the comments or commentary for other social media or marketing endeavors with Hawkeye Athletics. So just want to make sure you're aware of that. But let's go ahead and get started. Going to start off with our coach. Tom always loves introductions. I've introduced him before, and I'm just going to give you a few talking points or a few highlights, and then we'll have Tom share some thoughts with us. Right now, Tom is the current NWCA National Coach of the Year. He won that award for this past season, voted on by peers. He also won that award back in 2008. He was also the 2020 Intermat Coach of the Year, the Big Ten Coach of the Year. This season, he captured his 100th Big Ten victory with our dual meet win over number 6 Wisconsin. He just completed his 14th season with Iowa Wrestling, overall record of 231 wins, 23 losses, and 1 tie, and is our 8th coach in program history. So under his tenure, we've had 3 NCAA titles, 5 Big Ten titles, and we have won or shared the Big Ten regular season title 10 times in Tom's 14 seasons. Many All-Americans, many NCAA champions he's coached, a lot of academic All-Americans. Also like to say that as a competitor, he stared down the Russians and the Iranians to win the Olympic gold. So I'm going to introduce to you Coach Brands, who is going to share with us his thoughts and reflections on the season. But first off, Coach, looks like you still got a good beard going there with COVID. Can you share a little bit about how you've been handling the COVID challenges, both personally and professionally, as an opening question? Then you can get into your remarks.
Well, I would say that I'm very in tune with moving forward with our program and our individuals. You know, we hired a club coach in the midst of all this. Dan Dennis came back. That's a great addition. So it's not like we're not moving forward or working on the program. The only thing is, you know, the last 60 days or so, we haven't known what the next steps are going to look like. And today's call with the administration, the 4th floor administration, the top brass, and all the coaches was the most information that we've had as far as what it might look like, what it could look like in getting back to our offices, those types of things. And it's not going to be immediate. It's going to be slow. But what I'm trying to say is that we're starting to see and know what the next steps could look like. And that's encouraging for, you know, someone who wants to get back into Carver Hawkeye Arena. Patience is the key. We've been patient. Our guys have been patient. And that's part of being the best, no matter what you do. I know there's been challenges for our guys, you know, being robbed. I've said that many times. They were robbed of opportunities. But there's a lot of people on this call that are businessmen that have the same type of mentality that we have, that have been robbed as well, or their businesses, they may have had to, get a shovel and really dig themselves out. So I know we're all in this together. We got great Hawkeye fans. We got great administration. The other thing is Kevin Collins introduced me. I could introduce Kevin Collins. I've gotten to know him well over the last 2.5, 3 years, and feel really good about him and his team. Sloan is on the call. Been great. It's been great. And then, this project we have coming up. So you want me to keep rambling, Collins, or you want me to slow down here and let you direct me?
No. Why don't you just maybe touch on the season? Obviously a wonderful season across the board. Just any reflections or thoughts from your perspective on the season and just the team's performance?
Yeah, we took on all comers, and we had a great home schedule, as everybody knows, and we broke records in attendance. And the other thing is, people don't realize we broke TV attendance. I mean, shattered the Big Ten network's ratings for wrestling. And, the ratings are up like 37 or 47% or something like that. But the Iowa-Penn State dual meet blew everything out of the water. And that really skewed that 37 or 47% increase overall. So not only did we break records in our own arena on the home mat, but we shattered the ratings records in the Big Ten network. And wrestling has moved into a strong number 3 now, behind men's basketball and football is obviously king by far, and then men's basketball and then wrestling. And we used to be neck and neck with hockey and women's basketball and volleyball, but found out this spring on our Big Ten coaches call that, this year was setting new records. So here's the thing. I mean, you look at our schedule, you look at our team, that just shows you that Hawkeye fans make a difference. When we have strong teams, our fans turn up, whether it's on TV, in our home arena, on enemy soil, everywhere, because the program means a lot to them, and couldn't be more blessed with the best fans really in the world. So
some great moments at Carver this year. Obviously awesome home schedule. What moments from the season at Carver stand out for you this season?
Yeah, I mean, we got Marinelli and Cassiope, and we got Michael Kemmer on this call, and those three, they certainly made some memories for our fans. I remember after the press day, I mentioned 3 names at press day, and I mentioned Marinelli, I mentioned Kemmer, and I mentioned Spencer Lee. And, we had some guys kind of look at me funny, and one of them was Austin DeSanto, like, why didn't you mention me? And I want to be mentioned in that group. So doing that obviously maybe sparked some, giddy up on some of these guys. But when the other guy I mentioned was Tony Cassiope, and I talked about him and the kind of heavyweight that he could be, the kind of heavyweight that we've seen. He's athletic. He goes to the legs. He attacks. He takes great pride in his lifestyle and his shape on the mat, and he's a great ambassador because of his win, graduate, do it right mentality. He's a great student. So I mentioned him in the press day as well. And I remember Gable coming up to me, and it was freezing cold that day, and we were outside at the Kroll Farms. And I remember Gable coming up and he goes, hey, you never really talk about people like that. And I said, what do you mean talk about people like that? And he said, you never really talk about like individuals. You never really give them credit before you really see what you have. And he was talking about Cassiope. And it really surprised him that we had great optimism. And his results have, certainly, even as a red shirt and then his high school career, warranted those comments. But we were very optimistic, and that proved true as well. So the memories aren't specific for me. As a coach, I don't look at Kemmer and Hall, as a memory, even though there's a lot of things behind the scenes. I was in the training room down there to get away from the noise because the next guy up, remember, let me go through that dual meet for everybody. Remember that dual meet where at 133 pounds, we medically got, forfeited. We didn't medically forfeit. We defaulted on the mat. So that's 6 points. And there was an issue there with the knee, and I was barking at the referee, and we lost another team point. So now you're in a 7-point deficit. And then Mirren goes out there, and he doesn't have the best performance, and he gets kind of run out of his own arena, and he gave up 5 team points. So, between me mouthing off to the referee, between DeSanto defaulting, and between Mirren getting run out of his own arena, that's 12 team points. So down the stretch, we had to perform. And there were some critical matches after 165. And Michael Kemmer and, Mark Hall, that's a great memory for a lot of fans, and that'll go down in folklore. But for me, my memory is walking back and seeing Assad, and the noise was so deafening that he was really getting rattled. And so I pulled him and Warner into the training room just so Assad would have some company with Warner. He's a veteran, he could handle it. But there were 2 matches coming up with those 2 guys, plus Cassiope, that was critical. And that's what I remember. And I started to leave the training room to get back to mat side for Kemmer. And I caught Assad, you good. And he just kind of paused, and his face was a little bit white. And so when you read something or feel something like that, you stay with your soldier. And so the commander was with the soldier in that one, and I could hear the noise like I was mat side. It was so loud, even behind 2 closed doors there. So, that's the memory that I have with Kemmer's match. And I'd go out and check when it'd get loud, and I looked up in the big screen from the tunnel there, and I saw him get that last takedown, and I saw Hall put his head down. And there's nothing better as a competitor, and there's nothing better as a fan, and there's nothing better as a coach when you know wrestling, and you know that the match isn't over, but it's over. And there were 90 seconds to go in that match, and that match was over. Put his head down, Hall did, and he laid on his belly. So those are the things that I remember. But I remember more how our guys responded down the stretch. I remember Marinelli's on this call as well. And I remember him wrestle a real smart match in the Big Tens and beating a really tough competitor for the 3rd time in his career, Vincenzo Joseph, who, make no mistake about it. He's a competitor. He didn't go out to, give his best effort at Big Tens and, oh, by the way, I'll get him at Nationals. It's not a big deal. He went out there to wreck Marinelli, and Marinelli, his lifestyle's intact, and he's all about, holding up and shape and, that Iowa style, if you want to talk about that. So my memories are more about how our guys persevere. Taking Assad out of red shirt is a story, that. But, the 3 guys on this call and DeSanto coming back from an injury, I think he learned a lot about himself during that injury. Spencer Lee has definitely gotten better. That you cannot deny that. You cannot deny that. And so, love it, Jim Zabo used to say.
Well, let's touch real quick, Tom, on the progress with the new wrestling training facility. Obviously, the Iowa State Board of Regents approved permission to proceed with planning in February. We were wrapping up a really successful season. Obviously, would have had a wonderful chance to crown a national championship, but we still have a lot of momentum with the program. I know you've been in some meetings regarding hiring of an architect. Maybe just say a little bit from your perspective where that process is and where you're at with the wrestling facility.
Well, there's 2 things that come to mind before I start talking about it. The first thing that comes to mind is your team, Kevin, and the relationship with the people on this call, and then people that aren't on this call as well. And what I mean by that is, 6-7 years ago, this would never have happened. I would have been on the outside. We would have brought our needs to the 4th floor administration. It would have been talked about. It would have been important. They would have listened. Wrestling's important. But, with the people on this call and some people that are off this call and your team, we shook and we moved. We were movers and shakers, and that's huge. And there was no hesitation. So that's number one. Number 2 is that, we're still getting big gifts coming in. Today we had another one. And we're still working, and there's still response, and that's huge. and it's coming from all different types of fans. It's coming from alum that wrestled here. It's coming from people that went to school here and didn't wrestle, or maybe were athletes, or maybe coached other sports and stepped up, or responded to a message maybe somewhere from us. So we still have big gifts coming in during this COVID crisis time. So those are the two things that I'll say before I really get going. And that's huge. You know, to get going on this thing, you know, I sat in on the architect hiring. I was involved every step of the way. I was on every call. Matt Henderson, Barbara Burke, Damian Simcox, we're all leading the charge. Our cross-campus people, Adele Van Arsdale, you know, people that are, you know, one step away from making the call. You know, Rod Leonard's is going to be heavy. We had earlier meetings with him a year and a half ago or so, but those are the people that report directly to Rod Leonard's, and he reports directly to the president. So this is a project that is approved. It is real. It is important to everybody, all the way up to the president of the Board of Regents. I'm not ashamed or I'm not shy to say that wouldn't be that I had a one-on-one private meeting with him, with a couple of our bigger donors that they arranged after maybe shooting some you know, nicely placed pheasants one winter day. And so this has been great. It's been a great experience, but we did it right. And, you know, there's proof there with me being in on the architect hiring. I was mostly quiet, but Barbara Burke and Damian would ask my opinion. Matt Henderson, our cross-campus people, wanted to know my opinion. And that doesn't make me feel good because I have a big ego. That makes me feel good because, doggone it, we're going to get what we envision and what we want, and that is to have the best wrestling facility in the nation, in college wrestling and on the planet. I got to say it. But we're going to have the best facility in college wrestling. There's no doubt.
You bet. That's good to hear. And, you know, with the architect on board, Newman Munson, local architectural firm, does a lot of great work for the Hawkeyes. They're going to be driving this. So next is kind of what the site design, looking at what the needs are, the square footage, going through that process. That's what's next on the radar then?
That's what's next. There's a planning phase, and then there's there's a design planning phase, then a design phase, I guess, and then there's a build phase, I guess, I'm assuming. And there's things in this project that are very important to our cross-campus allies and people that are going to make this thing go, and that, you know, I don't even think of. And one of them is, you know, the location. You know, it's going to be south of Carver Hawkeye Arena there. As you pull into lot 46, it's going to be right there on the right where those trees in that hole and those big rocks are. And, you know, it's going to be right there, front gate, Carver Hawkeye Arena. And really what I'm trying to say is it's going to have to look pleasing. You know, that part of the architect's job is to make that, you know, pleasing to look at. So there's landscaping that's really, really important. And those are things that, you know, this is big. And then there's a tunnel that we're going to tunnel into the arena. And so that's sophisticated. You know, there's a lot of that goes into that is, you know, if it's not done right, it could create havoc down the road because it's not built right. And then you'd have to, you know, redo it. And there's, you know, flow that I hadn't thought of. I mean, you can't have a tour out of our wrestling room down into the arena without graphics and things in that tunnel that are, you know, recruiting oriented. You know, Kevin, I think it was Kevin's idea at the beginning was, when we do this thing, we're going to have a Hall of Champions, where it's an Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame. When you walk in that front door, and the front door of Carver Hawkeyes, you walk into the front door of Iowa Wrestling, you're going to be, you know, going to Julie Tomash's desk and to get in to see Branson Company and to watch Marinelli and Kemmer and Cassiope and Lee work out. And you're going to walk by the past, present, and future of Iowa Wrestling. So this is a very comprehensive project. I am very confident that it's done right. But still a lot of work to do. Fundraising, a lot of work to do. Planning, a lot of work to do. Design, a lot of work to do. The first money that we spend will be to the architect to start getting renderings that are real and to see really a cost study. We don't even know exactly how much it's going to cost. It's going to be in the $20 million range. I know that.
Well, that's a great update. The race is on, obviously. We're working hard to get this project moving. I'll just add from a fundraising standpoint, we've got commitments of over $10 million. And we've got verbal commitments of about $2.5 million, which puts us at about $12.5 million. And we have strategies to finish this off. Obviously waiting for the budget, which will be coming to us perhaps this summer once the pre-design and the visioning is done. That will determine, how much we have to raise. This is all privately funded project. So I think we'll leave it at there. Again, reminder, we have the chat feature. If you have questions, go ahead and utilize that. Coach, stay on. We may come back to you with some questions.
Yeah, last
as well.
thing I want to interrupt. Sorry. Last thing I want to say is, Spencer Lee, he won the Hodge Trophy. Spencer Lee, he won the Sullivan Award as a junior in college. Marinelli was a Big Ten champion for the second year in a row. Pat Lugo was 8th in the country last year and a Big Ten champion as a senior and the number 1 seed. We had 3 number 1 seeds. We had Kemmer, the number 2 seed. He'd beaten Mark Hall, a former champion. And then you look at all that and they're all back except Lugo. And so what am I trying to say here before I get to the silent mode is we still have work to do and nobody knows that more than our guys. In the past, teams that we've been lucky to have, 4 or 5 or 6 guys, back in that 8, 9, and 10 run we had, there'd be 5, 6, 7 guys that you felt really good about. And that meant incoming guys as well, the incoming freshmen for the future. But this year and go back a year, even 2, this group of guys that we have, great. You can't say enough about them and where they're leading this program. So, it's not 4 or 5 or 6 guys. It's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then we got this class coming in. So that's what I'll end with. We'll throw it to you and our athletes. How's that? Awesome. And thanks everybody for being
one
out.
question for you, Tom. Question from the audience is, when will the team be able to work out again in Carver?
Well, there won't be any, voluntary workouts even until at least June 1st. We won't be in the arena then, but there could be something where the Big Ten and the NCAA relinquish the ban. When I say ban, the prohibiting voluntary workouts. So that's the first step, and then that would look like something maybe on a soccer field or where you're running, or you meet somewhere and you go for a run or whatever. But there's a lot of things that we gotta get to. Get back in the arena for us. We're a winter sport. I got to be patient. I'm talking to my direct report, Barbara Burke. I know she has our best interest in mind. But I got to be patient. So it's down the road. We're patient, but at least we know what the next steps are going to look like and that it's coming up where, a month ago, we didn't even know what the next steps were going to look like or even when. Now we got, somewhat of a timeline, and we know what it's going to kind of look like, where the safeguards and so on and so forth. So thanks for coming on the call.
You bet. Well, thanks, Coach, and congratulations on a great season. A lot of great memories to move us forward and propel us into a new era of success for Hawkeye wrestling. At this point, we're going to turn it over. We're going to go to our panel. We got 3 really terrific student athletes with us today. We got Alex Marinelli, always tenacious. Michael Kemmerer, one of our most gifted and technically talented wrestlers, and then freshman Tony Cassiope quickly becoming a crowd favorite, closing out our dual meets at home. So all three earned All-American status this year. We had 10 total All-Americans with the interrupted season. We obviously would have crowned 10 at the national tournament as well, so that's just affirmation of their success. These three wrestlers contributed to a 13-0 overall record, 9-0 in the Big Ten, and earned the team's 36th, 3-6, that's quite a feat, 36 Big Ten tournament championships for Iowa wrestling. Alex defended his Big Ten title this year. Michael finished the regular season at #1 and was surefire bet to have another Donnybrook match with Mark Hall in the NCAA final. And Tony opened his season with 15 straight wins and finished the season at 20-3. Okay, I got some questions for you guys here. I'm going to start with you, Michael. Obviously, to hear the news back in March that the tournament was going to be canceled, what conversations went through did you have with your team, and what went through your mind as a competitor when you heard that news?
Yeah, I mean, obviously disappointing, not what you want to hear. I mean, we have 1 week left to go out and finish strong and get those titles, get that team title that we talk about. But, I mean, just a big thing amongst our team is, always looking forward, always building for what's next. And we had to pretty quickly realize, there's stuff at play right now that's out of our control, and all you can do is move forward and move forward strong. And that was pretty much the big thing. We got a close group. A lot of us kind of hung out together that night, and it wasn't sulking. I mean, maybe it was a little bit of disbelief, but it was never sulking. It's just kind of, there's more at play right now, and what's next. And that's pretty much always what it's about with us, is the next thing. And pretty much since then, now it's looking forward to the next thing that comes. So
you bet. Well, thank you. Okay, we're going to go to Tony next. Tony, this was your first year, redshirt freshman. How did you feel about your first year? And then what was the biggest surprise to you in this first year of collegiate competition?
There were a lot of good things with this first year. I think I learned a lot. I think our team was awesome. I think we are, just looking forward to next year. That's what I'm really looking forward to. I think I did a lot of good things this year, but I think I have a lot to learn from, and we'll be more ready next year.
So did you meet your expectations this year in your freshman year?
No, I did not. The goal is to be on the top of the podium. And I mean, I didn't get the chance to wrestle at NCAAs, but I mean, I wanted the next best thing, which was a Big Ten title, and be ranked #1 at the end of the year. And I wasn't there.
You bet. All right, let's go to the bowl here. Alex, you guys, after learning that the tournament was canceled, university announced that all classes were going to gravitate towards online with Zoom. No more in-person classes. You guys all had to finish off the semester virtually. Can you talk about how that process went for you and the teammates, and any support maybe you received from our student athletic academic services team?
Yeah, so actually I already kind of do school online. And as a university, they offer classes online already. So I was pretty well versed in the online curriculum. And but as far as like people that didn't know how it would go, we had a lot of talks and Zoom calls like this, and then calls with our academic advisor, Doug Coonrad. And he was just really giving us all the information we needed. And then if we needed to call him or needed to talk to someone, he was a phone call away. And we had a lot of just support and emails, and we kind of just came together as a team every week and on Zoom calls, and just went over the protocols, the online learning. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of support there. I mean, everyone was a phone call away if we needed to talk to someone. So.
And just Alex, a follow up on that, the last 3 or 4 seasons, the Iowa wrestling team has really excelled academically, something you all have been contributing towards with your own success. Talk about what the team thinks about the academic All-American status, the GPA that the team has collectively that's increasing. It's kind of a culture change to a certain degree. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the whole stigma around, I mean, if you're a tough wrestler, then maybe you lack slack in the classroom, and that's just not it. I mean, it's tough academically, and we take pride in doing well in the classroom. And for me, this semester I probably ended with like a close to a 3.4, and I was really bummed because I want to be on the dean's list every single semester, and last semester I was, and that's just it contributes to the team. You want to do something well, and you want to leave a mark on your team as being, tough on the mat, but also picking up your end in the classroom. And that's huge. Tom always preaches, do your job. That's pretty much what you have to do. And that's getting good grades, talking to your teachers, and pretty much just showing up to class and doing your homework and studying. I mean, it's quite simple, but it takes toughness and sacrifice to really do well. And that's what my teammates do. So.
You bet. Well, congratulations on a great semester and Dean's List
Thanks.
for you and others on the team. That's great leadership. Let's go back to Michael. Michael, let's talk a little bit about what you and some teammates are doing right now to train and keep in shape when you don't have access to Carver Hawkeye. And how have the coaching staff and others, strength and conditioning staff, been working with you on providing you workouts or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a pretty independent group, and we're bringing back a lot of guys. So a lot of veterans that kind of know a lot of what it takes and what that standard is and what our coaching staff's expecting of us. So, we have Zoom calls, Zoom meetings and stuff, making sure we're staying independent and doing the right things and keeping that standard. I would say a lot of it is, running or biking or, stance in motion, a lot of mental work too, visualization. I mean, and you can make a lot of gains on that right now. But the biggest thing is we like to stay in that base shape all year round. And, maybe say our opponents are right here, we like to stay here. And, if they're moving up, we're moving up too. And we're always staying one step ahead. So we got a lot of independent guys that are good at being accountable and just keeping that standard really all year round. So it's been good. A lot of independence.
And for you, Michael, you're coming off some injuries the last couple of years. How have you handled your training and adjusted? When you were healthy this year, which was great to see a Michael Kimmer at full strength. But how has that rebound been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's just communicating, like with Jesse, just about making sure I'm staying on top of my rehab. I mean, our training staff's been awesome with me coming back from those injuries. It had a huge part in that, and working with them. And now that I had a healthy year, it's just important not to go back to those, maybe the old habits that got me injured in the first place. And I'm going to be a 6th year this year. So, maybe your body's not the same as it was when you're 18. I don't know. I mean, I feel pretty good, but so I just got to stay on top of it, be proactive, stay on my proactive rehab type stuff. And, just keeping everything smart, keeping it safe.
You bet. I'll circle back to Tony. Tony, now that semester is over, folks are maybe going to be coming back to campus. What do you most look forward to doing when you're back here on campus and things are kind of opening up? I know you're a Cold Stone ice cream guy, but aside from that, maybe what's of interest to you?
I mean, I'm just really looking forward to getting back in the wrestling room and getting better and get ready for the next year with my teammates.
Yeah. When you think about next year, what drives you to kind of keep focused and keep training?
I mean, I want to be on the top of the podium. I want to be 2021 NCAA champion, and I've got work to do. And I know that, and I know what I need to work on. So that's what I'm going through right now.
You bet. And what's it like being the guy who walks out for the last match of a crazy dual meet at Carver Hawkeye? What goes through your mind when you're, anticipating that?
It's awesome because I get to close out the duel. We have a lot of great fans. It's really loud in the arena, and that's something I look forward to. And it can maybe be a little stressful, but it doesn't really affect me because I know it's just a wrestling mat, and I wrestle on a wrestling mat every day. So I'm just going out there and doing my job.
Awesome. All right, we go back to Alex. Alex, you became the 56th Hawkeye in school history to win multiple Big Ten titles and the first to win back-to-back since Sammy Brooks, something Spencer Lee can't even claim. You can probably lord that over him, right? You're leaving your mark on Iowa wrestling in their history books. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind when you graduate as a Hawkeye?
When you say that, everyone wants to be a Big Ten champ, right? But ultimately I want to be the national champion. And so, it's great. It's the next best thing, right? Like, we didn't have the national, so tackling that Big Ten title was something special. And, but I want to be remembered as a champion. And, I remember back when Quinn Holland, our strength coach, came on staff, and, he approached all of us and he was like, "Hey, what's one word that you want to be remembered by, or what you want to define you when you when you leave Iowa?" And I said, "Champion." That's the word that I want to be remembered by. And it doesn't matter maybe if I lose, but I want to be remembered as a champion in those losses too. So I think leaving Iowa, I want to be remembered as a champion on the mat and in the classroom, and my social life as a champion. And so Big Ten champ, I mean, that's great. And 56, that's crazy. But everyone remembers the national champ, and that's what I want to be. So.
You bet. And we're in your corner for that, for sure. I'm going to go back to Tony. Tony, as a freshman, you qualified for the NCAA tournament. That's not something that's easy to do, especially at the upper weights where, it's a little bit more upper class, I guess, laden with more talented folks. What did that mean to you to be, you're kind of along the lines of a Matt McDonough, Derek St. John, Bobby Telford? Not a lot of folks have achieved that.
It's a good accolade to have, and it really shows that I improved a lot from my redshirt season. But I didn't win the Big Ten tournament, and we didn't get to wrestle the NCAA tournament. So, I just want more. I want to be the best, and qualifying for NCAAs isn't the best.
You bet. Well, a lot of folks are excited to see you in the next 3 years and see your career progress. Michael, going back to you, no big surprise, but good to confirm that you've gotten your 6th year of eligibility, which means you're going to be on the team again next year. What does that mean to you, and how does that impact your goals for the next season?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I was pretty confident that I was going to get it, just talking with everybody about the situation, but you never know what's going to happen, especially with all this stuff going on. I mean, you just, there's uncertainty, right? So seeing that and having that approved, it's awesome. And it's the next step, and I'm guaranteed that shot now. So, yeah, it was great to hear.
Awesome. All right, Alex, a final question for you. Then I've got one final question for all three of you. But so, Alex, the NCAA announced that Iowa had set an NCAA record, led the nation in an average attendance for this 14th straight year. What's it like to be a wrestler in Carver Hawkeye? I mean, I think we're all fans. We all see that. But from your perspective, what does the fan support mean to you, and what's that do to motivate you or spur you on?
Yeah, I think it's super unique. And you dream about that when you're real little, and when you experience it, you'll remember it for the rest of your life because it's so special. And I have people who have traveled from Ohio or wherever, and I've gotten them tickets, and I was like, "Hey, come to this dual meet. You'll be a Hawkeye fan forever." And that's what they did. They came to the Penn State dual meet or whatever, and they were blown away. Like you guys as Hawkeye fans have done something so special and set that record. And I'm forever going to be grateful for it, because it's crazy. I know I talk about it every time I walk down for the dual meet, walk down the stairs, and I look at Morningstar, and we just know that, you can just smell it's just a different vibe. Like, I mean, when you have an Iowa wrestling dual meet, everyone wants to come around in Iowa and just see that and witness it. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. All right, this is for all three of you. Obviously, with COVID and the challenges, it's a bit of an uncertain time. You can't compete freestyle wise right now. You can't practice with each other or the team. How do you handle that uncertainty? What's your perspective on that? How do you cope? How do you get through? Each of you can address that.
I mean, I'll go first. My outlook is wrestling doesn't define me. You guys all know I'm a big man of faith, and I think if you're a believer, you're going to put your faith and trust in God, and He has a plan for us all. No matter if we believe that or not, He's got a plan, and He's going to push us through things that we got to get tougher through. And and the coaching staff that we have, they preach to be positive, and obviously we can be sad about some things and we can be disappointed, but we got to get going. We got to keep moving. And so keeping that outlook on life is, as a believer for me, if they take wrestling away, how will my life be? And honestly, it's constant. God's love is still there. He'll never leave me or forsake me. And so that's one way I look at it. And that's pretty much the only way, I guess. So.
That's great. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of uncertainty right now, but I'm just looking ahead to next season, doing what I can to get myself ready for that. It's not hard to find a tree to do pull-ups on. I mean, it's probably hardest for me because I'm the heaviest, but there's hills to run, there's paths to run. There's a lot you can do without a wrestling mat, and there's a lot you can do with stance and motion and on a soccer field that nobody's on, or whatever you can do, so that's just what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, Tony, just stay away from Bob Chisano's home cooking Italian. So, Michael, thoughts on that, uncertain times, how you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is just taking it one day at a time. It's really that simple, controlling what I can control one day at a time. And I mean, wake up in the morning and be the best you can be that day, and then you do it again the next day. But I don't really look far ahead into stuff that I can't control. I just focus on being the best I can be every day, and really no matter what happens, you're still building the best version of yourself and the best wrestler I can be. So that's important. And the other thing I would say is just realizing that things that seem far away, in reality they're a lot closer than you think. And we're in the off season right now, and it feels like season just ended maybe, but I know that those Big Tens and Nationals are right around the corner, and I'm going to be standing there before I know it, and it's going to be time to compete. So just doing the work every day now. Be ready.
You bet. Michael, just have to ask you, since you're on camera here, talk about the Mark Hall match at Carver. What a moment for you. Just curious on your thoughts about that match. What motivated you, what your mindset was.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest thing was just letting myself wrestle the way I can, wrestle to score points, and just not respecting somebody because of their name or anything else. I mean, it really was just as simple as wrestling every position as hard as I can, and wrestling to attack. And then just, you don't need to respect somebody just because of what they've done in the past. Just go out and believe in yourself and do what you do. And it's funny because a lot of people talk about that match, but I think just as a competitor, I think about the second match more, the one that I lost, more than I think about the one that I won, because I mean, those losses just stick with you more, right? And so, I mean, when I'm training in the off season or whenever I'm thinking about my wrestling, I think about the first match, but that second match, it's something that sticks with you and it motivates you and drives you. And I think every competitor, knows what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, during that match was just wrestle every position, keep wrestling, and I'm prepared for moments like that. So I believe in myself when I wrestle the whole match, the whole 7 minutes.
Do you have any idea how crazy your teammates were going when you won?
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was pretty locked in. I could, I can see stuff now, but at the time it was just kind of a lot of stuff going on at once for sure.
That's awesome. I'm going to have Coach. Coach, you're welcome to come back in and on camera here. Just quickly get a wrap up, and I'll give Coach a closing shot here. I just want to say thank you to Tony, Alex, and Michael. We really have three remarkable young student athletes who represent this program in a very professional manner. You heard them talk about balancing academics and perspective and competition. They've been part of a resurgence in Iowa wrestling and the characters that we have on our team. I know, Coach, you've talked about the evolution of the program, and what do these three wrestlers mean to you, Tom?
Well, they're the leadership, and down the road even. I mean, these three guys on this call are not just focused on getting better for collegiate wrestling. They're focused on international wrestling as well. And I'm not speaking for them too much, I hope, but so here's the thing. When you look at the history of sports, or you look at even what makes great people that aren't associated with sports, but specifically sports, and then you go into wrestling, and then you get really specific. There's a lot of individuality, and there's a lot of accountability and loyalty to yourself that go into this. And part of that loyalty to yourself is being a good teammate. In wrestling, it's a little bit different, but still being solid in that locker room. And we have a very solid locker room. There's monkey business. There's nice, gentle slaps upside the head, and not literal, but figurative from the leadership of our program and not the coaching staff. These guys do it right. I mean, Michael Kemmer's in grad school. I don't know how many of you on this call know that. I mean, he's a finance major that graduated a year ago. A year ago, he walked across the stage at Carver Hawkeye Arena. His family was in town. He graduated. He's been in graduate school for a year. So, he's going to have a master's in finance or business when he's done wrestling. That's a great example. That's a great recruiting tool. Spencer Lee, you talk about him and just how he carries himself. I mean, he did an advertisement for the hospital. He's been on a call like this before. Gary Barta, none of us knew Niall Kinnick, but Gary Barta compares Spencer Lee. If I had to pick one athlete, since my 13 or 14 or 15 years here, that is most closely resembles Niall Kinnick, it'd be Spencer Lee. I mean, Gary Barta said that. Don't take my word for it. He said that. That's staggering. Niall Kinnick is an icon, not just because he was a great football player, but because how he carried himself. He served our country. He was a great ambassador for the University of Iowa in a lot of different ways than just being the Heisman Trophy winner in the game of football. So that's what those guys mean to me. All of them. It doesn't stop there. I mean, Lugo's a graduate. Lugo's a number one seed. He graduated, and he was a transfer from Edinburgh that really struggled here his first semester academically. It was a challenge for him, and he got his head out of his backside and really did a really, really good job. And there was no conversations after that first semester. And that's a tribute to how he's raised, and that's a tribute to, how, his open-mindedness and these guys, they take direction very well if you need to gently nudge them a certain way. But I think these guys spoke for themselves very well, and I think they're on a mission. It's time to rock and roll. It's time to move on. We know what that looks like a little bit more, and we're all looking forward to it. And when we get back into Carver Hawkeye Arena, there'll be nobody happier than Hawkeye Wrestling. I know that.
Awesome. Well, that's great. I want to thank Tom for joining us and congratulate him again on a great season. Same to Michael, Tony, and Alex. Really proud of your accomplishments, and we're all excited about the future. Iowa wrestling has always been a special sport here to Iowans, to this university, what it's meant and represented. And want to acknowledge the support of our fans and folks that are on this phone call today. A lot of you have been catalysts in helping this project get off the ground, believing in our program, believing in our student athletes and our coaching staff. You're making a difference with this team, with this program, and we're excited about the future. For those of you who haven't got on board with Carver Circle, love to talk with you about that, but we're feeling good about where we're going. A lot of momentum with Iowa wrestling. I don't think we have any more questions today. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Keep in touch. We'll be pushing out materials on our social media. Football deadline is coming up on May 29th for your iClub seating contribution. Just want to make sure people are aware of that as we talk about what the football season may be looking like and how important that is for the athletic department. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to wrap it up at this time and wish you all the best. Stay healthy. Stay engaged, everybody. Go Hawks.